Me and my cousin took a short sublet in a newer apartment tower because my lease ended fast. I needed a place near my temp job, and the building manager offered me a discount if I covered after-hours trash checks for 2 weeks. It sounded like nothing. Walk the floors, log leaks, pull overflow trash, lock the trash room, go back upstairs. Cheap rent makes you say yes before your brain catches up. The first week felt clean. Quiet hallways, elevator hum, people in gym clothes and earbuds, dogs sniffing the baseboards. I did the rounds with their dumb clipboards, swiped my fob, checked doors, listened to the compactor thump, and rode back up smelling like garbage. Then the tiny shit started. My doormat turned 90 degrees. Not kicked, turned like someone lined it up. I fixed it and told myself someone stroller clipped it. My peephole cover slid open when I knew I closed it. I shut it with my thumb until it clicked. Next night, it sat half open again like an eye. I pressed my ear to the door once, and all I heard was the building's vents and my own blood. The dish soap moved from the left side of the sink to the right. No speed, no smear, just switched. My cousin laughed when I said something. I snapped at him. He snapped back that I was tired and looking for ghosts in a building with a concierge. He called me fucking dramatic. I told him he could go sleep in the hall if he trusted the hall so much. That turned into a whole ugly hour of us rehashing who owed who money and who always overreacted. I tightened up. I swapped the deadbolt screws for longer ones. I put a hair across the inside of the door with a tiny strip of tape just to see if it broke. I set my phone on a chair facing the entry and recorded while I slept, then woke up and checked it like a ritual. The footage showed nothing. Me pacing, me finally crashing. Elevator dings through the wall. The hair still snapped anyway. That's what got under my skin. Whatever was happening didn't need to kick the door. It knew the lock. I started taking photos of everything before bed like a lunatic. Soap, mats, the peephole cover, because I needed something solid to hold on to. On night 8, I went down to the trash room around 1:40 a.m. The hallway down there felt different. No carpet, just painted concrete and that sour cleaner smell. The trash room door always stuck a little, so I used my shoulder, got it open, and froze. A single latex glove hung off the latch. Not on the floor, not in the bin, stretched over the metal like a little flag. Like someone left it there for me to find. My brain went hot. I didn't touch it barehanded. I pulled a fresh bag from the roll, used it like a mitten, peeled the glove off, double-bagged it, wrote the time on it with a Sharpie. 1:47 a.m., I took it upstairs and shoved it into a Ziploc and then into the freezer because I didn't know what else to do besides keep proof. My cousin saw me do it and called it insane. I told him proof is only insane until you need it. He said, proof of what? That someone wears gloves? And we damn near started yelling right there in the kitchen. The next morning, 2 cops knocked. Not friendly, not casual. They stood too close to my door, already angled like they were going to push past me. They asked to come in. I asked why. One of them said, complaint, possible narcotics. He looked past my shoulder like the apartment was already a crime scene. They stepped in and started scanning surfaces. One pointed at my counter by the keys. What's that? A small baggie sat there. White powder. Not mine. Not my cousin's. It wasn't there when I went to bed. My mouth went numb. My skin went cold. I kept saying, that's not ours, because my brain didn't have anything smarter. My cousin swore. I swore back. The cop told us to calm down like we were kids. Then they opened cabinets. No asking, just hands on doors. They found a second bag inside a cereal box we never opened. Then a third behind the toilet tank lid, like someone placed it there with care. The cop stared at us like he was waiting for one of us to confess. He asked me how long I'd been doing building work and wrote down the manager's name like that was the only part he cared about. That's when it clicked. Someone got in, planted contraband, and waited for my name to show up on a report. Not to sell, not to use, just to sink me. The cops didn't arrest me. They did the performance, photos, questions, notes, and left with "we'll follow up." As soon as they were gone, my hands started shaking so hard I couldn't light a cigarette. I don't even smoke like that. I just needed my brain to stop sprinting. My cousin rounded on me. He said I'd drag him into this because I wanted cheap rent. I told him to shut up and help me think. He said thinking didn't matter if someone had a key and the cops already decided what we were. I told him if we ran, it would look like guilt. He said everything looks like guilt when someone wants it to. He started packing right then, slamming drawers, and I grabbed his wrist and he jerked away like I burned him. He said if I kept pushing this, I was going to get us arrested for something we didn't do. I went straight to building management and asked for hallway footage. I kept my voice steady until it cracked. The manager didn't even pretend to care. He said the cameras weren't recording due to maintenance. Same line twice. Same dead face. I asked what days. What maintenance? Why the hell do you have cameras if they don't record? He told me to lower my voice because I was disturbing the office. I told him someone entered my unit. I told him I had a glove from the trash latch. He said I shouldn't be removing building materials. He said, "You're here short term. Let's not make this complicated." Like I was the one making threats. I watched his eyes, and they didn't have confusion in them. They had patience, like he was waiting for me to rage out so he could label me. That night, I killed the lights and sat with a kitchen knife I hated holding because it made me feel pathetic. My cousin sat on the couch, fully dressed, muttering that we needed to get out. Every time the elevator pinged on our floor, I looked at the door and felt my stomach fold. I kept my phone recording again, not because I believed it would catch him, but because I needed to believe the night was being witnessed by something besides me. Around 3:10 a.m., my door handle turned slow. It stopped. It turned again, softer, like whoever was on the other side didn't want the latch to click. Then the lock clicked anyway. A key slid in. I moved before my fear could argue. I yanked the door open hard enough to slam it into someone's shoulder. A man stumbled back in the hall wearing a building maintenance hoodie and nitrile gloves. He didn't look surprised. He looked annoyed, like I ruined his schedule, like he had a list and I wasn't supposed to be awake for this part. He bolted down the stairs. I chased him barefoot, keys in my fist, heart ripping at my throat. He didn't slip. He didn't hesitate. He hit the basement door and tapped a fob. The lock clicked, and he slipped through like the building opened for him. The door shut, and I was left grabbing cold metal that wouldn't budge. I banged once, then stopped because it hit me how stupid it was to announce myself to whoever was down there. When I got back up, my cousin was shaking with anger at me for chasing, for opening the door, for not calling 911 first. I yelled back that 911 already walked through our kitchen and did nothing. We got chest to chest, breathing hard, and I saw it in his face. He wasn't mad at me, he was scared and didn't know where to put it. Next day, the manager told me I was aggressive and unfit. He said there was a complaint about my behavior. He said I assaulted staff by flinging my door open. My fob access got shut off. I had to return the clipboard and keys like I'd been fired from a job I never wanted. He kept talking about liability like that word erased everything else. My temp job got an anonymous tip about drug activity. HR didn't say it out loud like an accusation, but their eyes did. My assignment ended early. No appeal, just a polite shove out the door like I was contagious. My cousin moved out that afternoon. He didn't apologize. He said he wasn't going to be collateral damage for my discount rent. I watched him leave and felt the apartment get bigger and emptier like it was breathing. I packed the next morning. I didn't use the elevator. I took the stairs, listening for footsteps behind me, expecting that door in the basement to open again. I dropped the fob on the office counter and didn't wait for anyone to look up. I never got arrested, which almost made it worse. It means the cops weren't the point. The point was watching me lose my footing one planted bag at a time until I left on my own. I took the evening route because the regular guy quit and I needed the extra cash, so I loaded my trunk with pharmacy drop-offs, checked addresses in the app, and planned to bang out 12 deliveries in a loop through the same 3 condo complexes before the cutoff. The first hour was normal, gate codes, lobby doors, a dog barking somewhere behind drywall, and then the normal started getting rearranged around me like someone else had my schedule open. The first thing was a package on my passenger seat that I didn't put there. Small box. No label. Just brown tape and a smear like grease. I stared at it at a red light, and my stomach did that cold drop. I hadn't set anything up front. I keep everything in the trunk because I hate clutter and I hate losing pills. That box sat clean and centered, like it wanted me to notice. I pulled into a gas station, parked under the brightest light I could find, snapped on the cabin light, and opened it with my key like an idiot. Inside was a cheap prepaid phone, already on, already recording. The screen showed my face from 2 seconds earlier. I watched myself blink, then watched an upload icon pulse like it was sending the clip somewhere. I hit buttons, tried to shut it down. It kept coming back. I checked my own phone for Bluetooth connections like I was a tech guy. I'm not. I searched my car fast. Glove box, back seat, trunk latch. I checked the passenger door for prime marks like I knew what I was doing. I found nothing. That somehow made it worse because it meant it didn't need force. It meant it had access. I wrapped the burner in napkins, walked it inside, and dumped it in a trash can by the soda machine, where there were cameras. I told the cashier someone left a phone in my car. He grunted like I'd asked for a receipt. I stood there a second longer than normal, trying to make my face a memory for the camera. Then I walked out with that fake calm people use when they don't want to get picked. Before I even cleared the parking lot, my phone pinged with a password reset email. Then another. Then my bank app. New device attempt. Then my rideshare account, which I don't even use. New device logged in. My stomach turned over. It wasn't ghost shit. It was admin shit. Like someone was sitting at a desk, clicking through my life. I pulled over and tried to lock everything down, thumbs sliding on sweat. Support was useless. Scripted. Slow. They asked me to confirm my email like I hadn't just told them someone else had it. Every time I fixed one login, another alert popped. I was watching doors slam while someone opened windows. I wanted to throw my phone into traffic. I didn't because I needed it to work and because that's the trap. You depend on the thing that's getting used against you. I went back to delivering because I needed the money and because sitting still made me feel like a target. I told myself I'd finish the loop, go home, deal with it. That's how you lie to yourself when you're scared. At the next condo, the guard at the desk looked at me like I'd already pissed him off. He didn't ask my name. He said it. First and last, clean as a court clerk. I stopped short and asked how he knew that. He tapped his tablet and told me the resident changed the delivery instructions and I had to leave the meds in the package room. I told him I needed a signature because it was controlled. He didn't argue the point. He just repeated, louder, package room like I was slow. People in the lobby started looking at me, then looking away like I was contagious. The package room door stuck like it always did, and I had to shoulder it. Inside, the camera was pointed straight down, but the red light wasn't on. I stood under it anyway and scanned the drop like I was being graded. I took a photo. I checked the timestamp. I stood there one extra beat, listening to the hum of the fridge units and my own breathing. While I walked back out, the guard watched me with that blank patience people get when they know something you don't. Back in my car, a bouquet was zip-tied to my wiper. Not real flowers. Those fake funeral lilies from a dollar store, white plastic with glitter. Somebody had cinched the tie, so tied a bit into the rubber. A note on receipt paper. You drive home this way. My hand started shaking so hard I dropped my keys. I snatched the note up, looked around the lot, and saw nothing. That pissed me off almost as much as it scared me. Whoever did it didn't need to hide. It didn't need a rush. I didn't go home that way. I cut through side streets, made dumb loops, burned gas. And still, every few turns, the same gray SUV showed up in my mirror. Not close enough to be obvious. Not far enough to be random. It drifted through my blind spots like it owned them. I slowed to let it pass. It slowed too. I sped up. It kept distance like it had rules. I tried to catch a plate at a stoplight by leaning forward and twisting in my seat. The SUV hung back behind another car like it knew what I was doing. I finished the route late. The app warned me about performance like it cared. I drove home with my jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. My building manager had taped a notice of lease violation to my door for unauthorized subletting. Inside the envelope was a printed screenshot of a listing with my apartment photos. My couch, my kitchen, the angle from inside my bedroom doorway. The kind of pictures you only get by standing there. I felt my skin crawl because I knew exactly where that camera had been, like I could step to the spot and put my foot in the same place. I went straight to the manager's office and shoved the paper at him. He acted like I was trying to talk my way out of a ticket. He said people complained. He had to follow policy. He wasn't debating it. I asked who took the photos. He shrugged and said maybe I posted them. I told him I don't post my apartment anywhere. He told me to lower my voice. Then he warned me, real quiet, that if I kept making trouble, he'd start the eviction process. He said it like advice, like he was doing me a favor. I called the cops because I didn't know what else to do. They showed up slow, looked tired, asked the same questions like they were filling blanks. When a manager walked up and said I'd been difficult, the whole vibe flipped. One cop asked if I had any history. He said it casual, but it landed like a punch. I asked history of what? He didn't answer. He just watched my face like he expected me to crack and confess to being the problem. While they stood there, my phone buzzed. The delivery app had updated my address to a different unit in my building. I hadn't touched it. I showed them. They called a glitch. They told me to change my passwords and be careful. Then they left me in the hallway with my manager, smirking like he'd won. That night, someone used my name to order pizza to my neighbor's door. They wrote a tip note. Tell her to stop calling police. I don't have a her. I live alone. My neighbor came over furious, pounding my door, yelling that I was messing with him. I told him through the door it wasn't me. He called me a liar anyway, like he'd been waiting for a reason. When he finally walked off, he kicked my doormat so hard it flipped, and I stood there with my back to the door, listening to him tell someone down the hall that I was running scams and to keep their doors locked. The next morning, Animal Control knocked about a lost pit bull report. The report had my number, my signature, and a photo of my car. I told the officer it wasn't me. He talked to me like we'd argued before, like my name already meant liar to him. He warned me about fines and wasted resources, then left like I'd ruined his day on purpose. I knew my phone was blowing up with blocked calls. Someone had posted my number in the building group chat as the delivery scammer. I got a text from a manager telling me the police had advised him to document everything. I felt my stomach knot because now it wasn't just one person messing with me. It was a whole hallway starting to believe it. That's when I understood what was happening. Whoever was doing this didn't have to touch me. They just had to make me look like the asshole to everyone around me. They were building a version of me that other people would punish, and it was working. I went offline. New number. Closed accounts. I froze my credit. I paid a service to scrub data broker sites. I deleted apps I'd used for years and replaced them with nothing. For a couple weeks it got quiet, and I started to breathe again like an idiot. 2 weeks later, a plain envelope showed up with a single printed map, my usual gas station circled, and 3 words: you missed one. I moved. Different state. Different job. Different everything. Last month I got a voicemail from a number I've never saved. No voice. Just the clicking sound of a turned signal, slow and patient, like someone sitting outside somewhere, waiting for me to remember the route I used to take. I took a weekend side gig doing overnight IT resets at a community college because my car note was late, so I carried a master key card, a laptop, and a list of classrooms to image before Monday. Topic was boring campus tech work. My motive was money. My role was after-hours contractor, and my plan was to hit each lab, wipe drives, log serials, and leave before the sunrise patrol. I didn't want to be there. I wanted the envelope and the receipt to shut my bank app up. Friday night, I parked by the loading dock because that's where they told me, and I let myself in through a door that sighed like it was tired of being opened. Empty halls, motion lights, that disinfectant smell that sits in your nose like a thumb. My key card worked on some doors and not others. The master part was a joke. I still had to use the physical keys on the old locks, and every time metal scraped metal, it felt like I was announcing myself. First lab on the list, then the next, same routine, boot USB, wipe, image, sticker, serial number, checklist. I stayed standing the whole time. I didn't sit. I didn't eat. I just kept moving because moving made me feel like I was in control of something. The first odd thing was a printer spitting one page by itself in an empty lab. It didn't work like it was warming up. It just grabbed paper and shoved it out like it had been waiting. Not a test sheet, just a black and white photo of my front door. Same angle as a delivery guy would see. Same scuff paint at the bottom. Same little dent on the frame. I stared at it so long my eyes started to hurt. My brain tried to make it harmless. Wrong file, prank, student project, whatever. I ripped it up, told myself somebody queued the wrong file, and kept moving. I didn't even throw it in the trash at first. I tore it into tiny pieces like I was mad at it, then realized my hands were shaking, so I forced myself to breathe slow and act normal. I wiped the next row of machines like nothing happened because I needed the lie to work. If I admitted what it was, I'd have to leave, and leaving meant explaining, and explaining meant getting treated like I was crazy. In the next room, the admin PC had a folder on the desktop named Archive. No one names a folder like that unless they want you to click it. It sat there dead center like a dare. I hovered the mouse over it and felt my stomach tighten like my body already knew I shouldn't. I should have walked away. I clicked. Inside were campus CCTV grabs, hallways, parking lots, the library, but the file names weren't CAM 30214. They were dates in my name, not my username. My full name, clean, like it came straight off my contract. The first few were normal campus shots. Empty corridor, vending machines, stairwell door. Then it shifted and my chest went tight. Photos of my car at a gas station. A picture of my hands on a steering wheel. A shot of me bending to tie my shoe outside my apartment. Close enough to see the frayed lace. Close enough to see the little scab on my knuckle I got from busting a lug nut loose last week. I felt my mouth go dry, so fast it burned. I scrolled like a dumbass, like if I just saw enough, I'd find a gotcha that made it make sense. I clicked one and it opened full size, and there was my face reflected in the windshield, blurry but obvious. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I checked the file properties like a moron, like metadata would comfort me. The created by user wasn't student. It wasn't any staff account I recognized. It was an IT admin account that didn't exist on the org chart. It looked official though. Clean naming, correct domain formatting like it belonged. That made it worse. This wasn't some random creep with a flash drive. This lived inside their network like it had a desk and a coffee mug. I heard a chair scrape behind me. Nobody spoke. Just that plastic on tile sound, slow, controlled like whoever did it didn't care if I heard. I spun and saw nothing. Just the lab chairs all pushed in except one. One chair sat out from the table like someone had been sitting there and stood up gently. I stood frozen with my hand still on the mouse, waiting for footsteps, waiting for a cough, waiting for anything that would give me a target for my anger. Nothing. My ears started making their own noise, that blood rush hum. I shut the folder, not because I thought it mattered, but because I couldn't look at it anymore without feeling sick. I grabbed my bag and walked fast, trying not to run, because running turns you into prey. My badge slapped my belt with every step, and it sounded like a countdown. The hallway motion lights clicked on ahead of me, one section at a time, like someone timed it. Not the usual. You moved, everything wakes up. It was like a path turning on in pieces, guiding me. That's the moment I started sweating cold. I kept my eyes forward and my hands busy. I palmed my keys like they'd help. I hit the stairwell and found the door already propped with a wedge. Not a random rock. A rubber doorstop, clean new. Someone planned my route. Someone didn't want the door closing behind me. I yanked the wedge out and held it, because I didn't want to leave it there for whoever was coming next. I took the stairs two at a time, not sprinting, just moving hard, the way you move when you're pretending you aren't scared. I called campus security. The guy sounded annoyed, like I'd interrupted his night. He asked for my badge number before he asked where I was. He He asked why I was snooping. That word made my ears ring. I said I wasn't snooping, I was imaging computers, and there was a folder of surveillance with my name. He asked what room, what machine, what I touched. Not, are you okay? Not, get somewhere safe. He told me to stay where I was, and he'd verify. I heard typing in the background, that sharp clack like a report starting. The whole call felt like a trap tightening, like my words were being turned into a confession. I felt my face get hot. I said, "Man, I'm not the problem here." And he didn't even react. Just kept asking questions that sounded like blame. So I did the opposite. I hung up and kept moving. I didn't want to be in that building when verification showed up. I didn't want to be the guy caught on camera accessing unauthorized files because I clicked a folder sitting on the desktop like a landmine. I pushed through an exit door and the cold hit me like a slap. I walked across the lot fast enough to look normal, slow enough not to look like a chase. I got in my car, locked the doors, and sat there staring at the building like it might blink. The campus looked dead and calm. That calm made my skin crawl like the place was holding still on purpose. An email hit my phone before I even started the engine. Unauthorized access detected. Report filed. Attached was my contract, my home address, and a screenshot of me inside that lab. Taken from above, like a ceiling camera. Clear enough to see my hands on the keyboard. Clear enough to see my bag on the floor. It wasn't "we saw you in the hallway." It was "we watched you touch it." My stomach dropped so hard I almost threw up. My first thought wasn't police or monsters or anything dramatic. My first thought was, they're setting me up. They want a clean narrative. Contractor comes in after hours, opens archive, copies files, gets caught, security responds, case closed. Easy scapegoat. I can already hear someone saying unauthorized access, like it's magic, like it erases everything else. That's when I understood the trap. They wanted me on camera touching the evidence, so they could call it theft or hacking or whatever word fits a prosecution. I sat there with my keys in my hand, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I pictured walking back inside to report it properly and getting boxed in by procedure. Badge taken. Laptop said that. Just answer a few questions. Hours later, I'm in some office with a guy who smiles too much, and the folder is gone. And suddenly it's my word against their logs. I picture my face on a campus incident email, like I was some criminal. I picture my landlord getting a call. I picture my bank account getting frozen. All because I needed money and I showed up. I quit that night. I didn't report it properly. I didn't go back for my last check. I just drove home and stared at my own front door, trying to figure out how long someone had been practicing that angle.